Good morning everyone. My name is Ritesh and today we'll discuss current affairs topic. Right. So today's topic is sixth mass extinction. Right. So we'll discuss this topic in little detail today. So first I would like to tell you what we will discuss in this whole topic. Right. First we'll discuss why this sixth mass extinction was in news. Then we'll discuss the reasons and impacts of this kind of extinction, or there have been so many kinds of extinction. So what are the reasons and impacts of these kind of extinction? Then we'll discuss what is actually the sixth mass extinction, right? What it stands for, right? Then we'll discuss the changes occurred after these last 5 extinctions that have happened. So what are the changes that have been occurred, or what are the changes that will occur in near future after this sixth mass extinction, right? Then we'll discuss the vulnerable regions that are being affected by these kind of extinctions, right? So we'll discuss these things, and in the last we'll discuss what if those species go extinct, then what will happen. So we'll discuss that thing too. So so let us start with the first point, which is sixth mass extinction and why this was in news. So as per government or even researchers and all scientists, they have said that this sixth mass extinction is the most serious environmental threat. Right, it is related to the environmental issues, as you have recently read so many articles about COP, climate changes, and all these meetings that have taken place because of the changing nature of environment, right? And the air pollution, the noise pollution, all these kind of pollution that have actually contribute to the society at large in a very negative way, right? These air pollutions or noise pollution, they have actually changed the course of environment, right, with time. So these kind of things happen in our nature, and these kind of things actually affect environment very negatively, right? So these things are in negative sense. So as I said that many researchers and the scientists developed this kind of extension, and they have noticed what are the possible impacts, what are the possible outcomes of these kind of extinction, and what are the reasons behind these kind of extinction, right? And then they have came up with this thing that this is the most serious environmental threat in our for our earth actually, right? So these researchers and scientists also gave some facts related, some data related to that, right? So we'll discuss this also. So since 1500, right? Since 1500, 7.5 to 13% of species have been lost. So out of so many species, 7.5 to 13% species have been lost in these 500 years. In just 500 years, we have lost so many species in and around the earth, right? Next is, now you'll find difficult what actually it means, mass extinction, right? What does it stand for? What does it mean, mass extinction? So so mass extinction actually refers to a substantial increase in the degree of extinction, or in simple words, we can say that when the earth loses more than 3/4 of its species in a geologically short period of time, then we call that thing as mass extinction, right? So when our planet Earth lose more than 3/4 of the species in a very short period of time, we call it a mass extinction. Why? Because there are so many species that have been extinct. See, for example, I can give you, there are so many animals, plants, even birds that are being categorized as critically endangered by IUCN, right? So CITES, these kind of conventions and treaties define these animals and describe their nature and how they are actually being in our surrounding, right? So there are so many species, for example, cheetah, lion, they have been categorized under IUCN as critically endangered or endangered species, and this says how we rank those animals in terms of their if they are available in our nature or not, right? For example, in the recent years, we have seen that there was a downward trend of tigers in India. Then we have seen, then government launches so many campaigns with related to tigers to develop them, to actually preserve them. Why? Because they are very important for our nature also, right? So after that, we have seen that there was an increase in the population of tigers, right? So we also have to think about all these species which are very critical to our nature, and so we should preserve them in a longer period of time, right? So now you have understood what mass extinction says, right? What it means. Then, like so far during the entire history of the earth, there have been 5 mass extinctions, and this one is the recent. This was the last, which we call 6th mass extinction, right? Now let us discuss the reasons and impacts of mass extinction, right? Now, first reason is 5th mass extinction led to destruction of 70 to 95% of species of plants, animals, and microorganisms. So, obviously, if we are thinking about the 6th mass extinction, and if we have to give some data with related to 6th mass extinction or what will happen in the near future, then we'll also have to analyze the data of the 5th mass extinction, because then we can understand how many species that have been lost in the 5th mass extinction and how we can preserve the kind of species in the next extinction as well, right? So as per the 5th mass extinction, there was 70 to 95% of species of plant, animal, and microorganism altogether they have been destroyed, right? And these things were destroyed by catastrophic alterations to the environment. Now, what does it mean, catastrophic alterations? What does it mean, right? So this means for example, like catastrophic alteration actually means suddenly there's some big event which causes so many failures, so many destruction of so many species, right? So we can say catastrophic alterations such as massive volcanic eruptions, depletion of oceanic oxygen, or collision with an asteroid. So these things we can term these things as catastrophic alteration, because there is so much danger involved in these things, and these things destroy so many species of our nature earth, right? So that is why we call them as catastrophic alteration, and 5th mass extinction was caused by the catastrophic alteration, right? Such as these things: massive volcanic eruptions, depletion of oceanic oxygen, or collision with an asteroid, right? Now, after each of these extinction, now by far we have already seen 5 mass extinction, and this is the 6th one. So after each of these extinctions that have actually happened, it took millions of years to regain species comparable to those that existed before the event, right? You can take an example of a dinosaur, right? Dinosaur existed in past, but we have lost that kind of species, and with time we will never see dinosaur in real, right? Because we can't regain that kind of species again, because they have been extinct, right? So that is why I'm saying, so if we lost some species in a mass extinction, then it is very difficult to even regain that species, right? It is very difficult to regain that species, because obviously there must be some kind of change of behavior in the species that have been regained and species that have been lost, right? So this was the reason and impacts. Because then you can see from in the slide that this is the Earth mass extinction. This says during the last 500 million years, Earth has experienced 5 periods when at least half the living creatures were wiped out, right? So every mass extinction that happened, half of the creatures have already been wiped out because of these kind of extinctions, right? So look at the first extinction, first one, right? First extinction, it says global rate of species extinction, right? 60 to 70% we have lost. And what are the reasons? It was, first was the intense ice age was the reason behind the first mass extinction, right? And it happened in 445 million years ago it happened, right? Then look at the second mass extinction. It says 75% of the species extinct. And what is the reason? The reason is drastic drop in oxygen levels, right? And it happened 375 to 360 million years ago. Then look at the third mass extinction, right? It says 95% of the species get lost. And what are the reasons? Asteroid impacts and intense volcanic activity. And it happened when 252 million years ago. Now there's a term also, every period has a term, right? So first period was Ordovician, then Devonian, then Permian, right? So it is happening and it is still being continuously happening, right? So yeah, coming back to the third mass extinction that I've said, and the reasons were asteroid impacts. Now all these things are catastrophic alterations, right? Volcanic activity, drop in oxygen levels, these all kind of things are catastrophic alterations, like I've discussed, right? Now third mass extinction happens 252 million years ago. Then we will look at the fourth mass extinction, which caused 70 to 80% destruction, and the reason was massive volcanic eruptions and again asteroids, and it happened 200 million years ago. And the fifth one was 66 million years ago, and 75% of the population of the species wiped out, and the reasons were volcanic activity and climate change along with asteroid species. Now again, if you look at this slide and draw a similar pattern, there is a similar pattern of volcanic activity, asteroid, oxygen levels, intense ice age. So these are the main reasons that happen in environment that cause mass extinction to happen, right? And sixth one is probably going on actually, right? And it's related to Homo sapiens, right? Now, I've discussed all the 5 mass extinctions, the years and the probable cause of these kind of extinction. Now let us come back to the 6th mass extinction again, right? And what it means, what will change and all. Let's discuss that. Now the 6th mass extinction which is actually going on is referred to as the Anthropocene extinction. Now you have to remember this term, that Anthropocene extinction. It is related to the 6th mass extinction, right? First, this is important for you, right? Next is, researchers have described it as the most serious environmental problem. Like I've said, the 6th mass extinction is the most serious environmental problem according to the scientists and researchers, right? Because the loss of species will be permanent, right? Because the species will lose in near future will be permanent. That is why they are calling them the most serious environmental problem, right? Next is, one of the reasons that humanity is an unprecedented threat to many living organisms is because of their growing numbers, right? Because see, I've already said that because population is growing on and on, right? It is increasing very rapidly. And even if you consider so many countries like China and India, both, China adopted a one-child policy. Why? Because to maintain the population of the country, right? And India is also saying that two-child policy is also very good, right? So the main reason is the increase in population, right? Growing population is one of the reasons behind this kind of terrible things that happen in the environment, right? Then the loss of species has been occurring since human ancestors developed agriculture over 11,000 years ago, right? And since then, the human population has increased from about 1 million to 7.7 billion, right? Since the agriculture evolved as a primitive thing, as a concept that people adopt these kind of things, right? The population has been increasing on and on after that, right? From 1 million, it jumps to 7.7 billion, right? And now it's a very serious problem for us, because in front of us, because the extinction thing will happen, right? So again, the population must be checked as per this. Then let's discuss the changes occurred in the near future, or the changes occurred because of the last 5 extinctions, right? So more than 400 vertebrate species were extinct in the last even century, right? In the last century, we have lost more than 400 vertebrate species. And in a sample of 177 species of large mammals, most lost more than 80% of their geographic range in the last 100 years, and 32% of over 27,000 vertebrate species have declining population. Now, I am giving these facts only because to prove the point that since the population has been increasing, and with time we have seen even in the last century, we have seen so many different kinds of species have been lost in, right? And that is why we see, for example, if we see the species of large mammals, 80% of those species have been extinct, right? Even the 32% of these kind of vertebrate species have declining population. So overall, the extinction is already happening. It is actually in process, by the way. Then many of the species currently endangered or on the brink of extinction are being decimated by legal and illegal wildlife trade. Now there are also reasons that have because illegal trade also happened because of the people living in those areas and people killing them because of their monetary benefit, right? So all these things are happening because of the growing population of humans in the country, in the world, in the earth itself, right? Then several species of mammals that were relatively safe 1 or 2 decades ago are now endangered, including cheetahs, lions and giraffes. Now these kind of species in ancient time, or in like, if we consider them 200 years ago, it was not a big problem for these kind of animals. But now we have seen that so many wildlife animals are now in a position where they can go extinct, right? We won't see those kind of creatures in near future if we don't preserve them accordingly, right? Now there are as few as 20,000 lions left in the wild, less than 7,000 cheetahs, 500 to 1,000 giant pandas, and about 250 Sumatran rhinoceros. Now this data again is very concerned with the fact that these kind of animals, lions, cheetahs, tigers, rhinoceros, right, giant pandas, they will go extinct if we don't preserve them in near future, right? So government should also consider as a policy itself that they have to conserve them, preserve them, right? Now let's talk about the vulnerable regions as per this, right? What is let's talk about the vulnerable regions, the regions that will be impacted mostly impacted by these kind of extinctions, right? Now first one is tropical regions have seen the highest number of declining species. Now this is very important, right? You can expect a direct question from these kind of areas because see, this is related to your environmental related question or even geography, right? These kind of issues are involved here. Now you can expect question that which region has seen the highest number of declining species. Now tropical region is the one which has seen the highest number of declining species. Now again, what is tropical region, right? Now if you consider Earth, this is Earth. Now tropical, this is equator, for example, right? Now this is Tropic of Cancer and this is Tropic of Capricorn, right? So this is Capricorn, this is Cancer, this is equator. Now the reason between equator and the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn, right? Between this area, we call this as tropical region. This is tropical region. In north, we compare this as equator and the Tropic of Cancer, and in south, we consider equator and Capricorn. This area, we call this as tropical region. Now, tropical region is also known as torrid region, right? So if you read torrid region, it talks about this same thing, torrid region, right? Sorry, torrid region. So yeah, this is the tropical region, right? Now in Southeast Asia, large-bodied species of mammals have lost more than 4/5 of their historical ranges. Now even in Southeast Asia, there are so many animals and mammals involved that have been lost. Again, this is very related to your data kind of thing. You will expect these kind of things in your comprehension again, right? Now it is also, we can also pinpoint the temperate region too, because it is very critical for temperate region also. Now again, what is temperate region, right? So the area between Cancer, Tropic of Cancer and the equator, and the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle. Again, this area in north and this area in south is the temperate region, right? So these kind of, understand, the area between equator and Cancer and equator and Capricorn, north and south as well, is known as tropical region. And if we go beyond the tropical region, above or under that, north and south, we call this as temperate region, right? So these two kind of regions that are involved, right? Temperate and tropical. And if you get a question related to which region has the highest number of declining species, then tropical region is your answer, right? Then as many as half the number of animals, again, this is again the same thing, that there are so many species that were involved, that were living on our earth, on our planet Earth, but with time and because of so many difficulties and there's so many environmental problems, air pollution problem, everything that contributed to these kind of things actually, and these reasons are the main thing because of the extinction of these kind of mammals, animals, species. Species may we can call it species because in species we can call everything, like animals, plants, mammals, everything, right? So earlier it was so many different kind of species that live on our earth. Now because of these kind of extinction, we have lost so many species, and we have to conserve and preserve. First, foremost important thing is that we have to conserve and preserve the species that actually been living right now, right? Now coming back to the last point of this topic, what if these species go extinct, right? Now first one is, impact can be tangible, such as in the form of a loss in crop pollination and water purification. Again, now the impact can be a very little, impact will be a very maybe a very little thing, very not so big thing, but also they might be, it might impact our environment in a different way altogether also, right? So if a species has, now for example, if a species has a specific function in an ecosystem and then that species go extinct, then what will happen? That becomes a void space. You can't replace some other species with that one, right? So this will become a very permanent issue, and this will impact our environment in a very wide scale also, right? So as a example also, if a species has a function in our ecosystem, the loss can lead to consequences for other species also, because again, these species go interconnected. For example, if you go with the example of food chain, food web, right? So again, the plants, the giraffe or deer eat grass, then lion eat the deer, right? So it is kind of a food chain, and if one of the species get lost or go extinct, the other species will be impacted as well, right? Then effects of extinction will worsen in the coming decades, as the resulting genetic and cultural variability will change entire ecosystem, right? Then when the number of individuals in a population or species drops too low, its contributions to ecosystem functions and services become unimportant, its genetic variability and resilience is reduced, and its contribution to human welfare may be lost. Again, see, this point is saying that if a species is in declining mode, right? If you have a particular kind of species and there's very less population of that species, and in near future it might go extinct, right? So the contribution of that kind of species will be very less, and then after in due course of time that contribution to human welfare also will get lost, and anyways we'll forget about those things, right? So the main idea is to again not push those species more now, right? And again start conserving and preserving them in a very wide scale, so that we can actually tolerate these kind of extinction, right? And there will be less and less species that will get lost in the sixth mass extinction as well, right? So this was all about this topic, this sixth mass extinction. Now as per this topic, the only point that you have to remember is some data is related to this, that how many species have been lost in fifth mass extinction, right? And what are the reasons of these kind of extinctions, right? Like for example, I've given you this thing, so you have to remember this kind of thing. The period you have to remember, because you can expect these kind of things in your question. Then this Anthropocene extinction, because sixth mass extinction is known as this, right? So this is important. Then temperate region, tropical region, which region saw the decline of most number of species. Then these kind of things are important, right? Then you don't have to remember how many species they have lost, 400 vertebrae. These kind of things are irrelevant for you. So again, yeah, that's all about this topic. Thank you so much.